Welcome to the Saturday Night Live Afterparty. This week, we'll be discussing Season 46, Episode 19 of SNL with host Keegan-Michael Key and musical guest Olivia Rodrigo. I'm Catherine Coleman, and I am joined this week by comedy writing wonder twins Marina and Nico. You can see their work in The New Yorker, Funny or Die, or at marinaandnico.com. And if you'd like to connect with us, you can do so at snlpodcast.com. Enjoy these selected highlights from this week's discussion. If you'd like to watch our full-length, ad-free sketch-by-sketch review, you can find it exclusively on Patreon and Subscribestar/SNL Podcast. It's our supporters that make this show possible, and we are so thankful to everyone who's already come on board. All right, here we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. How are you two doing today?
Hey, doing good. Thank you for having us.
We're doing great. Thank you so much. Excited to be here.
I'm thrilled for you to be here. Thank you for agreeing to come on. You both have so much sketch background and you write such funny things, and I'm so excited for you to be here. For our audience, I know Marina and Nico through my time at UCB. They were both teaching there, and I happened to get to work on a little shoot with them, and it was super fun, and I was immediately impressed and said, oh, I can't wait to see them around more.
It was really fun.
It was great. Obviously, you're very qualified in my book, but for our audience, why don't you tell us a little bit about, your sketch cred, what gives you the right to be here, and, how you got into SNL and everything. So, Marina, why don't you go first?
Awesome. Yeah. So Nico and I, we've been writing sketch together for 15 years. We started writing. I know.
We haven't said that sentence in a while.
I know. It's really wild. It's a long time.
God.
No, it's a good thing.
I'm impressed.
Time is crazy. Yeah. But we met in college and we were on the college sketch team together and then kept writing sketch together afterwards, and then kind of expanded from sketch to playwriting, audio writing, TV writing, and all of that stuff. We also have been teaching sketch comedy classes at the UCB. That's us. Yeah.
What college?
Swarthmore College, right outside of Philly.
Swarthmore College. Boy Meets Tractor.
Mm-hmm.
Name of the sketch group.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys, Boy Meets Tractor. Shout out to Boy Meets Tractor.
They're still on campus.
Yeah.
They're still
Boy Meets Tractor. If you had to estimate, how many sketches would you say you have written in your life?
That's a really good question.
That's a great question. I think probably hundreds,
Could
but
be
not
thousands.
necessarily thousands. Or
I
maybe
feel like
one
it's
singular
probably
1,000.
I think we could be in the 1,000 range for sure.
Certainly. You forget about them.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah.
And then of those 1,000, what, like 500 have seen the light of day, probably?
That's probably about right. That feels probably about right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes
you just write one and you're like, maybe not.
Sometimes
you send
one
it to
gets
a friend
like
in an email and it gets a shrug.
gets like one little gasp of air and then is never shared again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's very cool. So, Nico, how about when are you a big SNL fan? Do you watch it every week or
I
more
generally
casual?
watch it. I watch all the sketches on YouTube often the day after. This was the first episode I was going through musical guest and all in a while. I feel like my relationship to SNL is, of course, watching it when I was a kid, particularly the older reruns on Comedy Central. You know what I mean? When they'd play marathons of them all day. And and then that feeling of, I guess, my generation of SNL, or the people, the Will Ferrell era was the people who I was staying up to see it live for.
Yes.
So that's my guy. I always love SNL. It seems so awesome and so cool and consistently funny. So it's great.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I feel satisfied that you are qualified to critique the institution that is SNL. And awesome. Well, let's get into this Keegan-Michael Key episode then. You ready?
Yay. Yeah, super pumped.
Great.
Again.
Oh, okay. I think I got another 5 spot on me.
$1,000 this time. Here we go. Oh, come on, man. I don't carry that kind of, what the kids call it, cheese.
I'll spot you.
Oh, no.
Oh,
That is financially rough for me.
Michael Jordan's bodyguard bears it all after losing a game of quarters. This was just a tour de force from Heidi Gardner.
Yeah,
Wow.
this sketch was amazing. I thought this is definitely the best sketch of the night, and I thought it was really good as an introductory sketch, setting up Key as like as Michael Jordan. You know what I mean? Like, this Michael Jordan of sketch coming on in. I loved how closely they mirrored that documentary. That documentary just looks so much like it, and even just like Chris Redd is like Dennis Rodman, which is like every detail was perfect. And yeah, it was who was that? That was Heidi Gardner.
Heidi Gardner.
Yeah, an Academy Award deserved performance. That was so funny and such a pathetic character. That was I just loved that. That was like it was just masterful. That sketch.
Yeah, like I think I would have enjoyed it. If anybody else had played that part, I would have been like, "Oh yeah, this is a fun sketch." But Heidi doing it, like you're right, like give that girl an Emmy. That was phenomenal. I could just watch her be that character all day long.
Yeah,
She's made for it.
Yeah, I think not only an Emmy but an Oscar, and it should be the first Oscar given to a television.
And give that girl
sketch.
a Tony.
Yeah,
the EGOT
out of one sketch.
She's gotten it.
That's so funny. Wait, this is really interesting because I actually was not super into this one. I'm so sorry to say. Okay, wait, yeah. I also haven't seen The Last Dance. So is that okay? So first question, is that referencing like a specific character who comes up in The Last Dance?
Yeah, so there's a specific scene in many of the scenes in The Last Dance. It's Michael talking about like someone slighted me once, so I had to best them in everything. And so that's like generally how he breaks down each game. It's like so-and-so kind of insulted me, so now I've doubled all his stats and I've humiliated him.
Gotcha.
And there's one scene where like it's his like friendly, it's like a friendly security guard, and they're like gambling a little bit backstage. I'm a theater performer. They're gambling
with their costume. He still has his costume on and everything.
Yeah, definitely. He's like gambling backstage, and it's like this very tender moment between him and this like old guy. So that moment is there, and it's just applying that same level of like, I will beat this man to submission. There's like a quote where he's like, I don't have a gambling problem, I have a winning problem.
That's amazing. Okay. Because I loved her performance. I thought it was so great. Like, I thought that was so great. I love when she's like, well, I'm officially in the doghouse. Like, that was such a great, that was wonderful. I loved that. I think that it sort of felt like a little bit listy to me. I think it was sort of just like, kind of like, now the next bad thing is going to happen, the next bad thing. And like, which is totally fine. But I think like my favorite parts to watch were like just that character's like, kind of reactions to it. I kind of wanted to like live with that character a little bit longer instead of like moving on to the next bets, I think. So that was all. Yeah. And I haven't seen the documentary either though.
You gotta see this documentary.
I gotta. I really do have to.
I mean, her performance definitely rose above anything that the sketch itself was doing. And Heidi always finds like just the perfect mannerisms for every character she plays.
Oh yeah.
It's just like, the way this guy tilted his head and it's a little shrug. Just nailed it. She blew me away.
It was an incredible performance. That was like, that was great.
This one also felt the most like a Key and Peele sketch to me, in that it was like really mirroring that style.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? The camera work, it's like more of a digital short, but that type of
like being pre-taped
mimicry
helped with that.
Yeah, it was really great.
Maybe the pairing of like not having seen the documentary and like loving the performance so much is part of why I had this reaction. Because I think I felt like very sad for the character. I think I was just like, leave this poor man alone.
Right.
No one's helping each other there.
No one. Yeah, exactly. I've already stated my preferred type of sketch.
I loved Michael Jordan's just like complete like lack of awareness. He's like, it's $6,000. You can make that in a day. And he goes, I can't though.
That was so funny. I loved that line. That was great. Yeah.
Yeah. Lots of good stuff in here, primarily Heidi Gardner.
Oh, so funny.
EGOT.
She's egotten. All right. Well, let's talk about up next, The Muppet Show. And if you're not enjoying it, then you are more than welcome to leave. Nico, did you enjoy the Muppet Show?
I had a conflicted relationship to this sketch. On the one hand, especially when the security guards come in, I started laughing, but it felt like a hate crime against Muppets. Can they do that? Can they bring in these Muppets but not call them really Muppets? Weren't the Muppets on SNL at one point? It felt like a weird fake Muppet situation, and that jarred me as someone who loves the Muppets. That being said, once they
a Muppet historian,
wrote a theater history essay about early Sesame Street. I thought once the security guards came, I thought it was funny, and I thought that like you can leave the venue. We're not with the show, we're with the venue was a very funny justification. Yes. And I think the puppet work when they beat that Muppet with the eyes was also great. Very good puppet work in general, but it did make me feel deeply uncomfortable. Mostly because I don't know what get the real Muppets there. I guess you can't really beat the real Statler and Waldorf.
Right. Yeah. That might be a problem. I loved the puppet work was so good. Like after he beat the one, and I don't know which one's which. I'm sorry, Nico. The other one, like the way he like turned to the side, like he was like in shock was A+.
Yes.
Marina, how'd you feel?
Yeah, this one was really interesting. I also had mixed reactions, and I think that so I think that my main issue with this was sort of like a base reality issue, because overall, like the premise of two security guards who don't understand Statler and Waldorf's deal is so funny to me. Like that is so, it's like Statler and Waldorf are there to heckle. That's what they do. It's so funny to me. And I think that could have existed in the world where Statler and Waldorf were there. Cause like famously the Muppets like never break character in performances, right? So I think it would have been totally fine for this to be a world where it's like the Muppets it's like it is a Muppet show and this is just like how it works. And instead it was like Statler and Waldorf were real people that they were responding to. I feel like something kind of was getting
like they weren't part of the performance, but they were still puppets.
They were being treated like, I mean, I think that part of the premise is them being treated like audience members. So I'm not saying that like that's the problem, but I think that there was some sort of like base like I think that basically what I wanted somebody to, I was curious what would happen if like somewhere after that first beat someone says, oh, it's okay. This is like they're a part of the show and this is what they do. Like, I think that it would have been interesting to see what happened from there, like how it would have been forced to heighten or how it would have been forced to like find other ways to play it. Cause I think that it felt like, and maybe this is my critique for like a few other sketches in the show, it felt a little ping-pongy maybe, where it's sort of like now they come back. And I just feel like there's maybe a way to like cultivate more of like a scene and a dynamic growing out of it. Because again, I mean, I loved when Keegan said, look, I'm not a fan of the show either. Like, that's so funny. Like they're like the security guards' disinterest in the show that's happening, but commitment to maintaining order is so funny.
Yes.
And I just think squaring away the reality that they were in would have let there be more room for that kind of stuff to come out, basically.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I agree
yeah.
that like this is like such a great premise, like such a great idea of like just how do you like these guys heckle and what if they got in trouble for it?
It's so funny, yeah.
Fabulous. So many places to go. But I see what you're saying about like it was a little ping-pongy and like maybe it's because I've just watched way too much SNL, but as soon as Keenan and Keegan exited the opposite side of the stage from where they had exited last time, I was like, oh, they're going to go up behind them now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, totally.
I saw it coming.
Yeah. And also to Nico's point earlier about it feeling like a little upsetting, I think to me, like when they picked them up and there was nothing underneath, like that to me was as jarring as if they had like ripped someone's arm off on TV. I was like, you can't show the underside of a Muppet. Like that's you're not allowed to do that. Like you can't
crossed
do it.
a line.
It's really,
it did feel like it broke some rules.
Yeah.
And rules are meant to be upheld.
Yeah, exactly. That's my
That's why the security guards are here.
My sketch philosophy is everyone must get along and all the rules must be upheld.
Wow, you must have been really fun as a
Yeah, it's really fun. Yeah. No, I think that most of the time, I think when I I think most notes to me really do come down to like, oh, this is just the thing that would have allowed the more fun thing to be there more of the time.
Mhm.
But I realize it does sound a little finger waggy. So yeah.
No, I'm teasing.
Wag, wag, wag.
It's a lot of it's that thing where we have the very cushy job of critiquing the thing that they already made and spent, 5 days on, and we're like, okay, but here's how you could have done it a little bit better.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
But yeah, no, this one, I liked this sketch more the second time I watched it. I'll
Mhm.
say that much. And I felt like it was the closest to achieving what I anticipated Keegan-Michael Key would do when he got here. Because he comes out with the security guard with like a lisp, and he's just like very, very over the top and very intense. And that's like in my head, that's a Keegan-Michael Key character, like the substitute teacher, like
Mhm.
just a level of intensity that is unrivaled.
Yeah, just like also such a highly specific situation. And again, I think that's
Mhm.
why I really just wanted someone to say like a producer to say like, oh, this is just a part of the show. They're just going to be doing that and just like live in that reality because it's so
Mhm.
specific.
Yeah.
But I think that character and that energy, those were so. I mean, that's so much fun. Just a base reality question for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, closer to middle of the road on this one, but I think we all, at the end of the day, it sounds like we enjoyed it well enough.
Yeah.
And let's move on to the Kennedy Center honors line. And this one is a weird one because they scrubbed this sketch from Hulu and YouTube. So if you didn't watch it live, you didn't see it.
So do they do that because of the lyrics that they were using? Like they can't post them? Or was it for...
I've never seen this happen. So I've seen it happen where there's a licensing issue and maybe the sketch is only up for like a week or so.
Yeah.
But I've never seen it just straight up not appear.
It was a really strange sketch.
So yes.
I like my assumption is that it's not because like it didn't go well. Like my assumption is it's like my assumption is there's like a right.
They don't usually even if it goes completely off the rails, it still gets uploaded for what it is. But I think it has to be a licensing issue,
right? Like I didn't think it was. I was smiling as soon as it began because I was like very excited by the setup, like the idea of these two like old timey Broadway ladies about to like sing this. I was like already like, okay, here we go. I was so excited.
Kate and Cecily loved that dynamic, and they're usually pretty good at it. So I was excited.
I was so excited, and then it was sort of just like the premise was sort of just like nobody knows the words, and everybody's sort of forgetting it in different ways, and so it didn't really feel like that much like fun stuff was happening. Like it sort of it. But I don't think like in replaying it in my head, the only place it continues to exist now, it seems like I don't think it didn't feel like, oh, there's something going horribly wrong. Like I think that was the sketch as written, but it just didn't feel like there was sort of any place for it to go. Cause like it wasn't specific about what they were forgetting or the way in which that was frustrating for the stage manager or whatever. It just felt like, oh, this is sort of like just generally a show that's going badly. And like, that's usually just more specifics just help make it more fun.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. What did you think? I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Well, it lost steam pretty quick.
Yeah.
Like I kind of had fun when they were just like line, and he would give it to them. Like I was like, oh, this is funny. Let's see where this goes. But like you said, they found decent places. Like, okay, if they forgot that, then they also forgot the choreography and forget the names and their stories. But none of that is super heightened.
Yeah. Yeah. There's sort of, I think it was just sort of like, oh yeah, this like people forget lines and celebrities like sometimes like demand like to, I don't know, be coddled through a performance. Like that all like all that sort of, it all just kind of was like, yeah, I don't know. It sounds like it's going badly, I guess.
Right.
I have to confess, I missed it, and I only know of this sketch from your descriptions now, and I am sorry I missed it. But it's so weird that they just disappeared.
They just scrubbed it.
I think that like with this type of sketch, like I think that there are like it was sort of like inoffensive. It was just like it just didn't feel like super fun or it didn't feel like super anything. It just kind of came and went and that was it. Yeah, I don't know. It was just I just didn't yeah. Like even if it had been like the lyric like because they were forgetting the lyrics to I've got rhythm, I've got music, I've got dancing, who could ask for anything more. So that was sort of right. But like even if they had been like forgetting, there was something heightening about like what they were forgetting or I don't know. It felt a little stagnant to me.
It just they didn't have anywhere to go.
Yeah.
And they tried real hard to keep this going for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
But I don't think it needed to. That said, there were moments. Like we got Keegan spanking Cecily, which is fun. We got him saying that he was hanging out with the trash boys from Stomp, which is a fun line.
Yeah, that is a fun line. Yeah, totally.
It's like there's these little bits that are good, but just like I think the premise in the game was not strong enough to sustain the full thing.
I think there's also sometimes, and I'm honestly having trouble like remembering too many details about this. Like I didn't even wind up taking that many notes while I was watching. Because I was not latching on to that much, but like I think all of it was in the context of a show, right? There weren't like breaks in between where it was just them.
Yeah, it was all straight.
Yeah, and I kind of think that like that's like a really, to me, I sort of analogize like sketches that take place in the middle of a performance as like sort of like sketches that take place in the middle of a yoga class in terms of the challenge of like structuring or heightening them. It's like the sort of dynamic of the sketch can often override the like ability to heighten or like change the pacing or anything like that. Or like
same thing with like a game show or anything.
Yeah,
like that.
Totally. And like at least game shows sort of have natural breaks where it's like, okay, let's like check the scores or let's go to this new segment. 2. Yeah, exactly. Whereas like in a performance or in a yoga class based sketch, which I know don't sound like those should be similar, but I think they often fall into the same like categories of like challenge. Like I think that that's just a thing that you can get stuck on. And I think it sort of felt like one continuous kind of murky beat and then it was just done. And I don't know. That was, I'm really curious to know why I'm sure it's just licensing. Like it wasn't
licensing.
Yeah. There was nothing.
It wasn't highly offensive.
No, there was nothing catastrophic about it.
They did a Safe Light sketch a few years ago where the Safe Light guy was a pedophile and that got scrubbed for obvious reasons because Safe Light was mad about it. But I don't think this had that effect. But that is a really good observation, Marina, about like maybe part of what's holding it back is that format.
Yeah, like if it had been in a rehearsal for that show, like I mean, even again, like all of this is just because like just thinking about what's this thing that would have let more fun come out, and I think with the rehearsal we could have at least like gotten to see more from these two like Broadway star characters who seems like so much fun. Like I think part of why the sketch was a bummer was just like I was so excited, like the setup and like who was on stage and how they were like I was so excited, and then it was just like oh
yeah.
Yeah.
It happens. If you want to see our full sketch by sketch review, search for SNL Afterparty on Patreon or subscribestar.com. So let's get into our overall thoughts. Are you ready for these big categories?
Yes.
You gonna do it? All right. Yeah. Up first is Moment of the Night. Nico, what is it?
Oh, yeah. To me, it's when Heidi Gardner won that Academy Award for that performance.
Yes.
In The Last Dance. That sketch I thought was my favorite. And I thought that I think when she's like, when she doesn't have her glasses on and she's like looking up, it was so good.
Yes. That as soon as those glasses came off and we got those cross eyes, fantastic. Marina, what's your moment?
I really like that, like Cecily Strong line, the Gemma line of "That's great news, girl power." Like just like around the wife not being dead. I don't know what it was, but that line just really made me laugh so much. I don't know. I really like that.
Fair enough. I'm gonna give it to when Ego sat on Bowen's lap in the cold open and said, "Let's go for a real ride now." That's a fun dynamic. I thought that little vignette was probably my favorite.
Yeah, so great.
Really good stuff. All right. Well, up next, Nico. I think I know what you're gonna say, but what was the best sketch?
Oh yeah, that Last Dance sketch. Obviously, I
Yeah.
thought metally in the sketch. I love that so much. I thought it was so very funny. I thought every actor really shined, even if they were just like a talking head for a second as their
Right.
characters. I love the filming of it. I like Key as Michael Jordan. Loved all. That's my favorite, definitely.
Fair enough. Marina, what's yours?
I would probably say, I think like maybe from week. I mean, I don't know if I'm allowed to say like the Weekend Update, like
Yeah.
either the Kate McKinnon or the Bob Baffert character. I think that both of those were. I really like both of those characters. I think that the Bob Baffert one, the Beck Bennett one, really made me laugh the most, probably.
Gets
So
the edge.
I'd probably say that.
Fair enough. I was actually torn between Last Dance and the commencement one, but now I'm second guessing my feelings on the commencement
No,
one.
don't second guess.
No,
Enjoy it.
don't second guess it at all.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just having fun with the characters. And that nice moment where they said, "No, give them a chance. Let their daughter." Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I enjoyed
Yeah.
that. And
That was really fun.
to be fair, Marina, you were like, if we got more of that, and I agree. But yeah, I was having a good time with these people.
But yeah, and that's what I think is kind of, sorry, just like, I think that's part of what's fun about like talking about sketch is that most of the time when there are things you wish were different about a sketch, it's just because there's something you liked that you wanted more of, right? And I think
Yeah.
that's like, I don't know. I feel like that's sort of where I felt about that one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. All right. MVP. I am pretty sure I know who Nico is going to give it to. Who is it?
Oh, I think I'm gonna maybe. I think it's. I would say, Ego Nwodum. I would say is probably
right.
the MVP in the sense that
Surprise.
she was in the most sketches
Mm-hmm.
and like in each character that she showed up in. I was like, oh yeah, yay! You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I think she's doing the overall work
Heavy
in this,
lifting.
with this. So that heavy lifting. I do think Heidi Gardner's performance was my favorite performance of the night, but I don't think she was in as many things. I don't think she was pulling the same weight throughout.
That's fair. Ego is phenomenal, and I think Ego of the whole season might be my season 46 MVP. We haven't got to the postseason yet, but she's having a good year. Marina, who's your MVP of this episode?
So this might be a weirder one just because it's like she wasn't in a ton of the show, but I think Cecily Strong, just because she made me laugh so much in the middle of a sketch where I was like, I'm like legitimately like a little confused about what's going on, but I know that I love this. It was like,
Right.
it made me laugh. That character made me laugh so much. I had no idea it was a recurring character, and now I have to look that up. Look all of that those sketches.
Very good.
But yeah, I think for me it was her.
Cecily often makes the play. She is a powerhouse and underappreciated, I think, too.
Yeah, she's so good. I mean, characters and voice of reason character. Like, I think she's just she can do it.
She does it both. She can be a lunatic and a voice of reason.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to give my MVP and Oscar vote and Emmy vote and Tony vote to Heidi Gardner.
Yes.
But I mean, to be fair, like Nico, like you're right. She wasn't in everything, but that one thing that she was in, she was in.
Chef
like
kiss,
that
good.
was perfect performance. I mean, when I got home, because I'm in Alabama visiting my family, I was at the lake for the weekend. I got home, and both of my parents mentioned the Michael Jordan sketch was good, and I said yes. Like Heidi Gardner was to die for. My mom went, "That was Heidi?" Like that's how good this character was. Like she had no idea. And I mean, just out of control good. Wow, like I am amazed at how much I loved that performance. So Heidi gets my MVP. And now it's time for the big one. On a scale of classic, great, decent, weak, or train wreck, Nico, how would you rate this episode?
I would have described this as a classic SNL sketch in the sense that it's like a solid show. It's doing everything SNL does, but I wouldn't say it's the best. I wouldn't put classic at the top of my list. So I would have switched those orders
around. Think of it as like
around.
a 1 to 5 star rating.
Okay, in my 1 to 5 star rating, I'm giving this a 3.5 to a 4.
Okay, so decent plus.
Decent plus, but decent feels too harsh. Do you know what I mean? They did everything.
Yeah,
they
I
did
said
the
same
job.
thing.
You know what I mean?
A few episodes ago, I was like, I think this is decent because it's in the middle, but decent. I don't like the connotation of the word decent.
No. They were doing.
Yeah.
Everyone did their job. I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Maybe like solid as an alternative to decent. Like I think it's like
Solid.
solid.
It's that middle. It's that middle space between decent and great. It's
Decent
solid.
0.5.
Decent 0.5.
Yeah.
And Marina, are you landing on decent?
I'm landing on decent 0.5. Yeah. I think it was like, I mean, I think that also, sorry, one more moment that I do want to call attention to was the very end when like he came out and was like, just seemed so like excited. Like, we'll see you next season. I mean, I hope I'll see you next season. And it was just like, it just, I don't know. I think it was it's always just very nice when it feels like you're sort of, it's such an iconic place. And it always feels nice when you're sort of watching somebody who seems to be like living a piece of a dream or something like that.
That energy is palpable.
Yeah.
And it's contagious.
It was really nice and sweet. And so I anyway, it was just, it left me on like I felt like very like happy at the end of it. So I don't know. Decent 0.5.
Decent 0.5. Yeah. Keegan came ready to play. I don't know that they gave him enough things to play with.
Yeah.
So I'm too landing on decent. And I don't know, some of it, because I've seen on the interweb, people are really enjoying this. So I'm trying to figure out how much of it is just a casualty of my high expectations. Like they announced Keegan-Michael Key, and I thought this is going to be the best episode of the season easily. And that's a hard bar to live up to.
Well, I think the other thing that's kind of interesting about it is like we associate him with like his sketch show, right? But it's like, I mean, and obviously like he's a huge part of the like Key and Peele sketch show, obviously. But it's just like,
you can write every sketch,
right? But it's interesting because it's like, oh yeah, but there's two different writers, right? Like the writer, there's two different writers. There were two different writers' rooms for those shows, so it makes sense that it wouldn't feel like a sort of like, because I feel like Key and Peele was more consistently as a show like excellent like all the time, and so I think that it's just funny to think about like, oh, it makes sense that like just either not in terms of quality, but just in terms of like the tone of the show wouldn't be the same at SNL, even though I think going into it, I sort of expected the tone to somehow match what I'm used to seeing him in. But it's like, oh, of course it won't do that because it's not the same
it's like
show.
You realize you're like, yeah, that was a silly thing for me to expect. But
right.
Nonetheless, we did it.
Right. No, I 100% did the same thing. It's just funny to kind of retrace my steps and think like, oh yeah, just different from what I expected. Yeah.
And it's also that thing where it's really, really hard to compare it to Key and Peele because Key and Peele was all pre-made. Like they had an entire season of writing it to make it the best it can be. And at SNL, you write it new every week, So like it's always going to be rougher around the edges than any like filmed sketch show.
Yeah. It was so much fun though. I thought it was still like such a blast to watch. Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I have definitely seen much worse episodes. Like I had a good time with this, and hopefully Keegan comes back. Surely he will.
Oh, surely,
he seems to be picking up the projects now. So
we got to get Jingle Jangle 2 made next year, and then we'll have two blessings. One will be Jingle Jangle 2, and the other one will be him hosting SNL again.
Yeah, and then we can say that dreams really do come true.
That's right. That's what we're all pulling for.
All right. Well, a decent plus 0.5 all the way around. It was an enjoyable time to watch. Keegan was ready. And thank you both so much for being here and offering all of your great knowledge and wisdom to analyzing this episode.
Well, thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was so much fun to chat about. It was really this was really fun. Great.
I'm so glad you had a good time. So yeah, people, I know they can find your work at marinaandnico.com, but you also have a couple web series out right now too. So do you want to pitch us on those real quick?
Yeah. Totally. So one of them is called What I Expect When You're Expecting. And it is based on the What to Expect When You're Expecting series, except it is hosted and narrated by a woman who has no idea what's going on inside your body, but is pretty sure that you're going to have the easiest 9 months of your life. So she has all sorts of like her own scientific ideas and 3D graphics to kind of guide you through your pregnancy.
Yeah.
The 3D graphics on that are wildly good, by the way.
They're by an amazing artist named Johnny Hamilton. And he's incredible. So yeah, shout out to Johnny.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We also
I
have
love what I expect. My favorite one is the little open where she says, you can't spell pregnancy without Nancy. And like, that's just the kind of character this woman is.
Yeah, the actress who's in it, Ann Carr, is really amazing.
Yeah.
She's
I really love when she goes, "Don't lay your eggs in a river," because that's not what humans do.
Yeah. Yes, there's so many great one-liners in that one. And then Nico, what was the other one?
We have another series called The Ignorant Table Talks, which are honest discussions about race that are really just completely ignorant. It's like instead of someone with a degree in race, it's me, a person who doesn't like it when he gets confused for the brown man at Duane Reade, but then goes over to another brown man and asks him if he's works at Duane Reade. So it's some real ignorant conversations about race, and they are forbidden to white people. So you can at any moment watch this show, but it's forbidden to white people.
Nice. And the one that kicked that off was the one where you think you look like The Rock, right?
Well, I know I look like The Rock is the thing.
Okay,
We're both mixed. We're both mixed people. We're both super hunks. We're both really strong and can lift a lot of things.
Yes.
So, that was really an ode to my body looking exactly like The Rock's body, starting that off.
I'm forbidding.
You're right. I'm sorry.
I'm forbidden from watching the series, but I bet it's extremely good. So everyone should take a look at it.
Yeah. No, I highly recommend everyone listening check out Marina and Nico's work. It's all super funny and super well made. Like y'all never skimp on the production value, and it's just really good. 15 years of experience, can't go wrong, right?
Yeah, baby.
All right, well, that's a wrap. Thanks to Marina Templesman and Nicolo Aid. And thanks as well to our most generous patrons, Sam Bowers, Neil Weinstein, Justin Gardner, Grace Kogan, and Brian Clark. If you're enjoying our show, please subscribe on YouTube or wherever better podcasts can be found. Your subscription helps us grow, and your support is greatly appreciated. We'll be back in 1 week when SNL returns with host Anya Taylor-Joy and musical guest Lil Nas X. But until then, this has been episode number 137 of the Saturday Night Live Afterparty podcast. I'm Catherine Coleman. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.